Welcome to another episode of With or Without Parole, where it's a late, rainy, semi-cool Louisiana southern night. And I figured what better way than as I'm sitting here, leaving the grocery store, making groceries, getting ready to go home, than to take a moment to share one of those infamous penitentiary stories that takes place deep down south. Now, this story was told to me while I was doing time on my first bid in Allen Correctional Center in Louisiana, of course. But at Allen Correctional Center, it was a wild little camp. They call them little satellite camps. It was a wild little satellite camp. And the particular unit I was in, I believe, was named Saturn, because most of the camps in Allen Correctional Center are named after Saturn, Mars, Jupiter, etc. So I was down there, maybe it was Earth. It was the one all the way to the end, working cell block when you first come in. So I was at this cell block, and I remember somebody was telling me the story of the two white boys that were in the pod, one pod over next to us. Now, these two white boys had been getting victimized. What I mean victimized is they weren't getting their sexuality taken, but they were getting their canteen taken. Every time they would make canteen, they would put their locks in their locker, put their canteen in there, and behind their backs, so they call them locker knockers. Somebody would go, break in their locker and take their stuff. And they did this time and time again. So eventually what happens is they cowards when they do it, because you don't know who's doing it. It's usually a bunch of chumps who don't have nothing in life. And most of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, because they do got some thieves that are about their business. But I've come to realize that a lot of thieves are just chumps and punks. They travel in groups and do it behind your back, and they doing it for somebody else, because I've noticed something. A real person in prison, they ain't going to, break in your lock and take it. They just going to come take it right in front of your face and dare you to do something about it. But usually people who steal out of your locker are usually, not always, chumps, cowards, punks. But in this instance, they were taken from these two white boys. Now, I don't know where these white boys were from. I was told that they might have been country white boys. I don't know if they were from Chow. I don't know where they were from. But so happened that they eventually got tired of being taken advantage of. So in prison, Chicken Day, fried Chicken Day specifically, is a day that nobody misses. Chow. Nobody misses Chow for fried chicken day. Well, somebody tipped these two white boys off on who was stealing their stuff, or what group of dudes in their pod was stealing their stuff. Now, if anybody knows everything, so in Allen Correctional Center, there's a key in the middle. And around the key, there's usually like 2 or 3 officers that man the whole pod, if I remember correctly. Well, each one of these officers have to watch over different wings of the pod. One's in the control room and the other ones are floaters around. They checking, in other words, in the pods, there's no officers in each pod. The officers just walk around and monitor all the pods. So the pods are pretty much without an officer. So a lot of stuff goes down. TV room, the officers might not see. Inside the dorm, the officers might not see. And so if I remember right, it's about 80 man to a dorm, maybe, give or take. And there's a total of 8 pods all around this key where these individual, these different guards man. Well, these two white boys on fried chicken day decided to lay back, because they got word. They found out who was some of the people who were breaking in their lockers. Now, just because somebody's not in your dorm don't mean they're not breaking in your lockers, because the way it works over there during yard call and everything else, people go in and out of dorms that they shouldn't be in. The officers, they can't keep up. But it's really the main time that they keep up with stuff is during count time. And I've even seen dudes skip out on count by switching out dorms. Like, I'm gonna switch out, bro. I'm gonna stay in your dorm, you stay in my dorm, so I can handle business over here, you handle business over there, as long as it's a head count. They're usually not calling out, each inmate by name to give them their DOC number. That usually happens when you're going in and out of work call or stuff like that, canteen, etc., but not during an average, cell count or, head count. So I've seen them switch out. Well, these two white boys stayed back for fried chicken day. Like I said, nobody stays back for fried chicken day. Well, so fried chicken goes, and pretty much, probably, I would dare say, beside the sergeant who was left in the key, it was probably out of every single pod, these two white dudes were probably the only two that stayed back and missed chicken day. See, now, if you on the pod with them, and you recognize, man, two white dudes, two white boys, they stayed back during the fried chicken time. So that automatically ought to tell you something about being aware. Something's going down. Remember, situational awareness. Something's happening, and something's going down. Now, most people were just probably excited just to get that fried chicken. You're gonna get that fried chicken. You're not missing out. So they might not have noticed. Well, these two dudes, they missed that chicken, so they stayed back. What they were doing, so let's jump to the story. So after they got the tip on who was stealing from them, they decided amongst themselves that they were going to do something about it. And so together, they hatched a plan to get even. Well, it was black dudes who were stealing from them. So when they came back into the pod, the black dudes who were stealing from them, they didn't know that the white boys were planning to get busy with them. So when the black dudes came back into the dorm, these two white dudes, what they did when they stayed back, they each had 2 knives. And they took the time to tie the 2 shanks to each other's hands. So each white dude had 2 shanks. And what they did is they knew they were going to get busy, and they knew they were going to be outnumbered, because the dudes in the dorm, I don't know where they were from. I don't know if they were from the country, if they were from the city. I don't know where they were from, but either way, they probably had a clique of them, 10, 15 who rolled together or so in the dorm. And so they probably thought, well, look, if we get busy with these, they rounds might jump in and try to help them. So we don't want Chance dropping these knives. So they taped the knives to each other's hands, to where no matter what they did, the knives wouldn't fall out. Well, when the dudes came back in the dorm and they racked the cells back, and everything was said and done, them dudes just went to getting busy. I heard they were sticking them. Well, the dudes who were getting stuck, who were stealing from them as they were getting jugged, were calling out to the key guard, to the officers in the key. Hey, man, say, Sarge, open up the rack. Hey, let us out. So when you stabbing, there's a lot of screaming going on. So the soldiers all ran over there and everything. Opened the keys, got in there. Everything gets broken up and everything. But not after these dudes handled their business. Needless to say, nobody didn't steal nothing from them dudes after that, and they earned a rep. By the time I got to the compound, these dudes weren't there no more, so I don't know if it happened months or years before I got there. But that was the story that was told to me. Moral of the story is, you never know who you stealing from or what they're going to do. I don't think the dudes died. I didn't hear nothing about them dying. But I know they got stabbed up, and that was the story. And so that's just another lesson to learn. When you go to jail, somebody might steal from you, and you might have to handle your business. You got to weigh the consequences. You got to weigh the actions that you're going to take, and what may and may not occur if you do this. You might lose good time. You might catch a street charge. You might have to go back. You might get more time. They might see it as self-defense. They might just do your little Mickey Mouse prison court write-up, take a little bit of good time, send you to the work and cell block, and then you're back on your way. But it's always a chance. You never know what you're going to do. But no man who wants to stand up for themselves wants nobody else stealing from them. And just because somebody steals something from you and you don't know who it is, that ain't nothing. They're not taking nothing from you. They stealing. I've had stuff stolen from me from in prison, and I never knew who did it, So, what you going to do? You just can't go picking out everybody. I mean, you can. I think that's a foolish thing to do. But if you don't know who's taking from you, you can't do anything about it. Moral of the story, don't go to jail. Don't go to prison, and you don't have to worry about if somebody's going to steal from you, and then you have to strap up and be 2 white boys with 4 shanks skipping chow on chicken day. Let's get it.